All right, welcome back. This is an overview of the North American realm, including some of its major geographic qualities. The North American realm consists of two countries, the United States and Canada. Both are large, highly industrialized, and relatively wealthy compared to other parts of the world. These are some concepts, ideas, and terms that appear at the beginning of the chapter and are highlighted as you read the chapter. I highlighted a few here that we'll be touching on during lecture, but it's important that you understand all of these, even if we don't get to them in lecture. All right, some of the major qualities of the US and Canada are that they are both two of the largest countries in the world in terms of area. They're both diverse or plural society. Both are highly urbanized or mobile, meaning people can move around to look for work. Both countries are highly industrialized and are major trading partners with each other. Both also have high rates of immigration or migrants coming in, making both countries quite diverse. Okay. Both Canada and the US are large countries in terms of area. So Russia is the largest country in the world and Canada is the second largest. The US is either third or fourth behind China, depending on how it's measured. Both the US and Canada are among the largest countries in the world. In terms of population, the US is the third largest country in the world with just over 300 million people. Canada is much smaller with about 37 million people, which is roughly the population of California. If we look at where people live in the US and Canada, the US population is mostly clustered around its Atlantic and Pacific coasts. In Canada, most of its population is clustered in a fairly narrow zone right along the US border. Both countries are also highly diverse, primarily due to immigration from other parts of the world. For Canada, migrants are mostly from Asia. In the US, the largest immigrant groups include migrants from Latin America, African Americans, many brought to this country by force before the abolition of slavery, and migrants from Asia and other parts of the world. This map shows semi-recent migration patterns for the US and Canada. Note that the sizes of the arrows indicate the number of people. For the US, the largest country for migrants is Mexico, where China is the largest source of migrants for Canada. Also know the small number of migrants from developed countries such as the United Kingdom. So why so few do you think? Yeah. To help understand these patterns, it's helpful to look at why people migrate. Generally, they do so because of pull factors or push factors. Migrants responding to pull factors are called selective migrants, or migrants who move by choice. One major pull factor is the opportunity to make higher wages. When there is a big difference in wages between countries, that helps attract or pull migrants from the country with lower wages. For example, most migrants to the US from Mexico are selective migrants due to higher wages in the US relative to Mexico. Other migrants are non-selective migrants, often called refugees, who are less moving because of choice, but because of a dire situation in their source country, such as starvation or violence. There's been a recent increase in non-selective migrants to the US from Central American countries due to violence and poor crop yields. While the US is ethnically diverse, there are often spatial patterns or clustering of ethnic groups. For example, larger percentages of Hispanics live in the Southwest, which is closer to Latin American countries, and larger numbers of Asians live along the West Coast, especially California, which is closer geographically to Asia. Larger percentages of African Americans live in the Southeast, where there were larger numbers of plantations that were worked by people brought during the transatlantic slave trade. We will see similar patterns when we look at the Middle and South American realms, which also had historically had plantations with slave labor. Concentration of Native Americans is more complex, often due to people being forcibly relocated to the interior during the U.S.'s westward expansion. Lastly, one thing both countries have in common is they both have a federal system of government. A federal system is one that allows power sharing between central federal government and regional governments, called states in the US and provinces in Canada. Not all countries have this type of power sharing and instead are considered unitary or having one central government. Speaking of states, I want to mention something about terminology when we talk about countries of the world. The term state actually means what we call a country or place that rules within its borders. We tend to use the term country because we would use the word state to describe our regional governments like California or Texas. Just be aware that when you read the book, it will often call country state. Another term we use is nation. Note that nations are not political entities but are cohesive groups of people. As we go through this course, we will see examples where there are nations of people that don't have their own state but live spread across other states.